Okay, welcome everyone. I'm so excited to have with me today Ghaya Barwani. And Ghaya has been in the Quick Start Intensive for a couple of years, and she was actually one of our leaders. And she's been so busy recently, she hasn't even been able to participate. But Ghaya, I want you to share a little bit about the update that you gave me. I'm so excited. And let's kind of back up a little bit and say, tell us a little bit about you and your business and your ideal clients, who you serve, all of that.
Well, personally, nowadays I call myself an ambitions ambassador and results whisperer because when a client entrusts me with their ambitions, I advocate for those ambitions with the grit of an ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
And primarily, I'm an organizational coach and team and leadership coach. And I support leaders and teams to come to the results they want to achieve in the same way a horse whisperer brings the horse and rider together in harmony. Primarily, I work with executives and leaders and executive teams to get them on to achieving the results they want to achieve with empathy and compassion. So it's kind of where they're sitting there wondering, do I have to be a tough cookie in order to be successful? I'm like, no, you can be who you are as you want. And over last year, I've been getting more and more of the executives who have kind of been successful. They're at the top of their game and they're kind of thinking about moving into entrepreneurship within the next 2 to 3 years. And so basically I'm starting to help them while they're still employees. Once they've stopped being employees, I refer them to you and Connie and everyone else. But while they're still employees in the organization, managing their business venture along with their corporate work so that they are ready for things like QSI. They already have the referral partners, the right contacts, and all of that way before they come in. So I'm kind of preparing them for the next step. But this has just started in the last year or so. And they really are people who want to make big changes and big impact on the society that they're in. And that's what I love doing.
Oh my gosh. And I am so impressed by you in so many ways. I love your energy and what you're doing. And what prompted this interview of you is you have made some huge strides this month. You sold a big contract, and I'd like you to tell us a little bit about that. And then I want to ask you what contributed to that, because coaches, I want all the coaches to be so inspired by what you're doing, but I also want them to know, how did it happen. So let's start with the story of what's going on this month.
Well, this month, it was a couple of months, a few months back, I worked with another coach to basically work on the coaching of 200 leaders. And the contract is worth over $300,000 for the 200 leaders. And basically, I had to work on getting the coaches. And what helped me, you asked me what helped. Well, number one, you kept telling us in QSI to work on our receiving muscles
Mm-hmm.
and not say no just because we don't know how it's going to happen. So that's what that's where I was like, okay, I gotta take the advice that I was given and see how it goes. And basically, yeah, we got it. It got done, and we're starting on the 30th of June.
Amazing. Okay, so you that's the inner game of the receiving muscle, and I get it. That's a huge part of what's going on. What happened externally? Like, how did this, was this somebody you knew? Were you referred in? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, let's put it this way. The best practice for me is conversation, 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 conversation.
Mhm.
I do MRCs. I have coffee chats. Anyone who tells me I want to meet you, I'll just send them a link so that they can book a 20-minute conversation with me. And I talk to people. I have lunches with people just because, they're asking me. And I always know you always told us to look for the 20% of the 20% that gives you 80% of your business. And the 20% of the 20% is saying yes to people who are not necessarily my ideal clients. And that's how I got this contract.
Was it someone that wasn't your ideal client?
At
How,
all.
how did it work?
It was someone who was working for the organization that needed to develop these people. And when they were sitting there and having a conversation, they're like, I know someone. How about we have a conversation with Ghaya? I mean, she's been generous enough. She's helped me with, I've given them so many different coffee chats, strategy sessions. And I never was, oh my God, this is not my ideal client. I should stop having a conversation with this person. It's just annoying. And don't get me wrong, it did get annoying. When you get this person who you know is not your ideal client coming back to you again and again and again for support, and you know that no matter what they do, they can't, but they referred me and I was able to work on this too. So it was like amazing. And it was easy because, again, I have conversations with everyone, whether they're coaches, trainers, consultants, personal assistants, fresh graduates. And basically I have built a reputation, along with the marketing, along with everything, to basically just talk. I mean, right now, an old mentor of mine contacted me just for a chat, and we had a conversation, and she was talking about some of the issues that she has right now, encouraging females within the organization to get into leadership. And I'm in the middle of negotiations with one of her team members now to work on a mentorship program.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a conversation over the phone, nothing to it. Another program that's starting in August, a friend of mine who just happened to be the head of HR, and I was having a chat with her. She had just come back from her maternity leave, and I was like, you know what? I've got a little gift for you. Here's a plan to strategize on the way forward for you. And yeah, we're going to start in August on a program for 20, kind of like the QSI program that you've got, 20 women for 12 weeks to regain their confidence and strategize their return from maternity.
Mm-hmm.
So just talk and look for opportunities and hope that the right ones come along. I mean, it sounds really strange, living in hope, but that's what the inner work is for.
You are so right. And Ghaya, I know you're having all these conversations and your energy is so amazing and you're listening. And I've always said, turn your coaching skills into coaching revenue. You are a MCC. You're also an ACTC. So that's team coaching. And you have all of these competencies in questioning, in listening, in evoking awareness, all of that. So in these conversations, you're just naturally doing what you normally do and using, I believe, all these competencies to listen to people. And they're telling you their challenges. And then you're positioning this and saying, well, maybe I can help. Yes.
Yep. And I'm coming up with the solutions as I'm talking to them. It's not like I've got well, I do have my pre-packages as well, don't get me wrong. I've got my, irresistible offers and I've got all of that. But as I'm having these conversations, I'm looking at what's best for them, for what they need, and working on that basis.
And so, what would you tell a former corporate leader that's now a coach, kind of on their own? Maybe they've jumped into the deep end and they find they're treading water, or they really want to accelerate their revenue. What advice, since we're not in coaching, we can give advice. What advice would you give them?
Well, I would give them two pieces of advice. And the first one is your four C's: confidence, context, conversation, and consistency in communicating and working on what works for them. I mean, for some people, it could be being on social media. For some people, it could be networking, but whatever it is, have the confidence to do it. Build it in the context of your tribe and the people you're supposed to serve. Have the conversations and be consistent as you go along. And the second one I would say is find your tribe and support system. People, whether it's a business mentor who tells you what to do so that in a way that's in alignment with who you are, or have a community of other entrepreneurs who understand the pain of trying to get the business and have the support, and they support you through the business ups and downs that you're going through, or find yourself a business buddy. And I have to admit, I got all of them through QSI and the network of coaches that I worked with in QSI. I'm still in touch with until today, including you. So
That is so
that's
true. That is so true. Gaia, you are such an inspiration. And you said something to me earlier before we started that you have some big goals because of people that you saw that went before you. So what's your next goal?
my daughter wants to go to an Ivy League university.
Okay.
So I need to make sure that when she gets in, I'm not putting the if, when she gets in, I can make sure that she can come out of it without having an education loan or anything like that. So that is my goal. And I've always said that. For me, I always say I want to have a $500 million year. That's
Oh,
my goal. My 500, I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I'm looking at, that's like my ultimate goal, to generate $500 million in sales consistently. How it's going to happen. And that's what allowed me, once I put that in my mind, that's what allowed me to accept those contracts that feel
mhm,
scary. And I'm sitting there going, how am I going to do this? And then I'm like, oh, I've got a beautiful network of coaches that I know and
mhm.
who I know will be able to help me through this. And that's how I operate now. So that's my ultimate goal.
Gaia, that is so beautiful. And I know that your daughter will get in. And I know that how many years do you have for her to go to university?
Another 7 years.
Oh,
7 years to
all
go.
right. Well, you've got time. And I love how you're
Mm.
planning early. Thank you so much for being such a lighthouse to other coaches. A lot of times in the US we get, oh, can I make money in other countries? Will this work in my country? And tell us about how it's working in your country.
It's working. It's working. One, I'm not limiting myself to only my geography.
Mhm.
Okay, a lot of my business is within my area and my region, but I'm not limiting myself to that. And I never did. And I always work even till today, even though I'm working on the bigger deals. If someone who I really want to work with comes in and they have a limited budget, I'll give them a solution. It won't be the same solution that I give in the high end, but it will be a solution within their budget. And like I said, building goodwill always works, always works. And by charging the big bucks and going for the big contracts that I've gone through, I have to admit I'm more than able. I mean, I've been able, last year I did group coaching for 60 young Omani women, pro bono, completely free. This year I'm doing the same thing. And I'm able to do that because I'm targeting the big deals and I'm still giving back in my own way as well. So it helps.
It beautiful. Well, I want to tell everyone's got your name here. So I say any coach that was very inspired with this interview, link in with Gaia. Watch what she's doing. And if you have questions, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer because as we heard, Gaia talks to everyone. I'm sure. And thank you so much for being such an inspiration to coaches all over the world. So with that, we're gonna end our interview today. But I tell every coach that's hearing this, connect with this amazing woman and find out what she's doing. Follow her, watch her, and you will have an amazing learning experience and hopefully some great results too. Thank you, Gaia.
Thank you very much, Kara.